All right, what is up, guys? So happy Monday. It's first day of the December. Christmas is almost here. 2026 is almost here. So yeah, a lot of my subscribers have been asking me to comment on Akaash Singh's situation with his wife Jaslene. I think the situation is very easy to explain, and I also have a couple of personal stories to share with you guys. A lot of white guys will get triggered. I keep talking about white privilege, not in the way that you think. I'm talking about in the dating and the marriage world. But before I get into all of that, yeah, let me just show you guys a couple of these clips to help you guys understand the situation with the comedian Akaash Singh and his wife Jaslene. So here it goes.
Like, there's no way this isn't gonna end with me with egg on my face.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this.
wow.
Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe. Yeah.
I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through.
Wait, okay, I have two butthole stories. So one time I met this guy on Tinder, and I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up, and I like woke up in the morning and like my a little sore. Oh my god. No offense to the homeless people, but like, you know when you get on the subway and there's like a homeless person sleeping and like everyone has to get out of that car?
Yeah.
That's what my husband's balls smell like. Oh my god, I hope he's not mad.
All right, I think the clips they're pretty self-explanatory. A lot of white guys they will not acknowledge this. It's really easy for a white guy. Once again, relatively speaking, when you compare that white guy to, let's say, a black guy or an Indian guy or an Asian guy, it's really easy for you to get a girl. It's really easy for you to get laid, right? And notice something, right? When Jaslene, then when she's doing all of these interviews, all of these podcasts to publicly humiliate her husband Akaash, right? She's not talking about sleeping with brown guys or Asian guys or Mexicans or black guys, right? All of the frat boys she was hooking up with, right? Doing the orgy, it was all with white boys. There's another Indian woman who is an absolute slut for white dicks. So she's the coach for the BYU's cross country and the track and field team. Her name is Diljit Taylor. So Diljit, that's a pretty Indian sounding first name, right? How come her last name is Taylor? Oh, of course, she married a white guy. Yeah, what's she doing in Utah? Go to any part of Utah. Go to Salt Lake City. Go to Provo, right? Do you guys see a lot of black and brown folks over there in Utah? So what is this woman, Diljit Taylor, right? What is she doing coaching the track and field and cross country team over there? Well, it's because she wants to be surrounded by a white man and white woman, right? Just be white. It's 100% real. And I knew someone who, so this guy I went to same high school with. His name is Zach. I'm not going to say his last name. So yeah, Zach, he ended up going to Ottawa U after graduating from high school. I went to Carleton University, but I dropped out many years ago. I came back to school many years later to finish my degree. So Zach is about 6 feet tall, regular white dude. And he was one of those guys who had an insane Asian fetish, right? And when he first went to Ottawa U, so this would have been 2010 to 2014, he was sleeping with every single Asian girl you can imagine. I'm talking about Chinese, Korean, Filipino, Japanese, Vietnamese, Thai, Cambodian. And they were doing all kinds of nasty stuff in bed. In fact, as a matter of fact, I think by the end of his freshman year, his body count was already something like 50. The vast majority of them with Asian women. And so many white men, they get so mad when I say white privilege. Have you guys seen some Chinese guy or Korean guy or Indian or Pakistani guy go to some kind of frat house party and they can just pick out all of these white women, you know, the British, the French, Italians, Germans, Russians, Ukrainians, and all of these white women are just getting on their knees. They're going crazy after these Asian and Indian guys. You never ever see that. Okay, white men are by far the most sought after. And if you look at the statistics from all of the dating apps, a lot of people say, well, dating apps, that's not real life. Well, the vast majority of the relationships nowadays, right, in the 21st century, they do start online on dating apps, right? So the number one choice for white women on dating apps is white man. The number one choice for Asian women on dating apps, Once again, white man. The number one choice for Indian women on dating apps, white man. The number one choice for Latin women on dating apps, once again, white man. The only other ethnic group that's the number one choice, right? So the only exception is black women. So black women, the vast majority of them on dating apps, they still overwhelmingly prefer to choose black men. And it doesn't matter which dating app, it doesn't matter which study you look at. Asian, Indian men always come out at the bottom. And Akaash Singh is getting 100% cucked by his wife, Jaslyn. And also, the only reason why she married him, and she told him that, she was a 22-year-old virgin on their wedding day. I mean, nowadays, can you really, really believe these modern women? It's not like, how can you be sure? So, way back in the day, right? So I said before, for the longest time, all of the marriages were arranged in China. And also, all right, for the longest time, so it was mandatory that, the woman has to be a virgin on her wedding day. Well, way back in the day, they used to get these older Chinese nannies with a lot of experience. And, before, the marriage ceremony, so these nannies, they're supposed to take these, young Chinese brides to basically a little corner room, to a little dark room, in order to check out her coochie, in order to check out her hymen, to make sure that it has not been penetrated. But even these Chinese nannies, whatever you want to call them, with years of experience, that they've seen thousands of these coochies, there's absolutely no way to be sure. Nowadays, there's all kinds of medical procedures you can get done. Like Mia Makova, she talked about this, right? After her scene with a Mandigo. Basically, her coochie got extremely loose and stretched out. But nowadays, there's medical procedures these women can get done, right? If they have a tunnel down there, it can actually close up the tunnel. So it's going to be nice and tiny and tight again. So yeah, there's absolutely no way you can tell. But, the reality is the vast majority of women, they have astronomical body counts now, right? Whatever the number she's telling you, you have to multiply it by at least a factor of 3, if not more. It could be 5 times more, it could be 10 times more. And you wonder why modern men don't want to get married. Look at what's happening to Akaash Singh. It's not just his career, right? His life is over. And also, he did not make his wife sign a prenup. That is a 100% terrible idea. Maybe he thought, I'm marrying some conservative 22-year-old virgin Indian girl, because in India, there are almost no divorces. It's not like the United States, but, you're living in a Western country. The reality is, roughly 50% of marriages will end up in divorce. And the man get absolutely destroyed in these divorce courts. If you want to get married, you absolutely do need a prenup. And I said this in a video back in last May, right? You can go back and check, right? Where I talk about interracial dating, passport bros, women's body count. Yeah, just imagine, right? Just a Akaash Singh situation. Just imagine on your wedding day and you're getting married to Jaslyn. You think you're going to live happily ever after. Couple of college frat boys, right? Couple guys that was part of Jaslyn's rotation. They show up on their wedding day and they say right to Akaash's face. They're like, "Oh, dude, look, that's Jaslyn. Oh, dude, Akaash, you're a cuck. Dude, I your wife. Oh yeah, we're talking missionary. We're talking doggy style. We're talking deep penetration. We're talking reverse cowgirl. We're talking handcuffs. We're talking S&M. We're talking spanking. Dude, your wife is such a skank. Your wife absolutely loves white dick, man." And yeah, it's not just Akaash Singh. This can happen to anybody. This is why, to all of the men out there, if you want to get married, it's the most important decision you will ever make in your life. And unless your partner is willing to open up 100% about her past sexual experiences, then you should absolutely not marry her. Let me just share this story with you guys. Me personally, I had this situation too. I talk about a lot of these Asian women. A lot of you guys say, well, yes, a lot of Asian women, so they're in love with white men. They do end up in an interracial marriage or relationship, but still, most women do still end up dating or marrying Asian guys, right? Well, yes. However, so I talk about this thing called the backup. You guys ever see in those cars with an actual wheel in the background, like the Honda CR-V or the Jeep Cherokee? So there's an extra fifth wheel, right? That's how the majority of these Asian women, that's how they view Asian guys. Yes, I've had it happen to me. So for example, right, so these Asian girls, just much like Jaslyn, right, so they spent their teenage years into their early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, just sleeping around, going to these frat house parties, getting absolutely drilled, getting stretched out by these white frat boys, right? The vast majority of them, including Indian women, yes, they don't want to say it obviously out loud, but they want you to think that they're innocent, they're conservative. The vast majority of them, they're 100% in love with white men. They all want to be white so bad. By the time, let's say when they're 30, 32, 34, by the time they've been bounced around, they've taken something like 136 white dicks, and once they're all washed up, they're way past their prime, they realize that none of these, white frat boys actually wants to marry them. They actually just wants to have some fun. And when they're running out of time, when their biological clock is ticking like this, right, it's going faster and faster, and they realize that soon they're going to be 37, 38, 40, and soon they're going to be infertile. And then they will log on to social media, or they'll check through their phone's contact. They see, oh, there's some, loser Asian guy that I rejected like 10 years ago when I was 22 years old. But now, I'm 32. Now this Asian guy is like 34. So he's a loser. I'll give this loser, ugly ass Asian guy a chance. This guy will be my backup. That's happened to me before. And some Asian girl who rejected me many, many years ago tried to call me back when I was 30. So at the time, she would have been something like 28 or 29. She was slightly younger than me. And my response was absolutely not. So you spend your teenage years and your 20s getting drilled by 50, 75, 100, 125 white guys. Now that you realize that, you're about to turn 30, that none of these white frat boys actually want you. And then you turn to me. You think I'm some kind of a backup. So yeah, listen, to all of the guys who are watching this video, gentlemen, we must stay focused, okay? I'm just really, really have to emphasize on this point. Gentlemen, we must stay focused. Never, ever let these women come into your lives, okay? Never, ever choose to become a simp, and never, ever choose to become a cuck, because once you make that decision, let's say if I followed, that same path when I was 30 years old, or when this girl at the time she's 29, after she's taking like 125 white dicks, if I choose to, let's say, get into a long-term relationship with her, or even marry her, or start a family, because I knew someone in my life that I've known for a very, very long time now. This guy was my former landlord when I was living in Quebec. I made some effort to learn Quebec French, and this guy, he's ethnically Chinese. So his parents fled China during China's Civil War. He was actually born in Vietnam, and his parents applied for refugee status from Vietnam in order to move to Canada. So he was born in Vietnam. He moved to Canada as a kid, but he's ethnically Chinese. So this is his story. The first time I met him, he's 35, 36 years old, and he just got married because I saw the wedding ring on his finger. So I asked about his marriage. I said, oh, when did you get married? So, and you got married to a Chinese girl? Well, he said, I actually married a Vietnamese girl, and we're newlywed. Now, keep in mind, he was my landlord, and at the time I was renting a room upstairs, and he was living in the basement. And his wife, at the time, she would spend half of the time in the basement and half of the time in Montreal because, yeah, her job requires to go to a different city from time to time. Their marriage, the first time I met him, he was only married for maybe three to 6 months. He was a newlywed. I asked him, so how did you guys meet? He said, well, basically he was really, really struggling. Dating is almost impossible for an Asian guy in a Western country. He just kept on getting rejected, until he was 35. And finally, so his wife was his first girlfriend at the age of 35. And I think, so his wife, it's a couple years younger at the time. Maybe she was 33 or 34. And I think she told him something similar. She lied. She's like, oh, even though I'm in my mid 30s now, I'm actually a virgin. I've been waiting for marriage. He will find out very, very fast that, he's, Vietnamese. This innocent, submissive, steamed rice bunny has been a total skank for white dicks for all of these years. So, white privilege is real, right? This Vietnamese girl, well, she got married at the age of 33 or 34 because she realizes that her biological clock is ticking and she's running out of time. And now these white frat boys she's been fooling around with actually wants to commit to her. So she looked at, my former landlord. She saw him as a backup, as the fifth tire on the back of the Honda CRV. And she's like, okay, I'll marry you. But obviously, this is what happens when you marry a woman with extremely high body count. It's never, ever going to work out. They were basically bitching and arguing. Like I was hearing demonic screaming in the basement pretty much if not every single day, once every other night. And and they purposely used only Vietnamese so they could both speak Vietnamese, right? If they were actually speaking English, even if they used Canadian French, they're both fluent in Canadian French, I could still understand it, even though my Canadian French is not fluent. But for the most part, when other people are talking, I can understand the conversation, but they only used the Vietnamese when they spoke to each other, so I didn't know what they were talking about. But I think the evidence were overwhelming. It was pretty obvious because, she told him she was a virgin on their wedding day, and it turns out that she's been a total skank for white dicks this whole time. Their marriage was completely ruined, and I think the issue was he also did not have a prenup, so it was very difficult for him to get divorced. You see, he got married at the age of 35. It was only after he found a 6-figure government job, right? Only after he got to purchase a house, right? He bought his first house at the age of 35. He was finally able to get a wife. As a man, right, you have to be better than the woman. There's no such thing as man, woman being equal. Man has to be up here, woman has to be down here. That's it. A woman is not going to marry a broke ass guy with absolutely nothing, right? This guy who's ethnically Chinese, he had to wait until he was 35 to get his first girlfriend. It wasn't until he got a 6-figure government job. It wasn't until he bought his first house. That's when he was finally able to get a girl, and it wasn't like he got an 18-year-old virgin. He got some 33-year-old Vietnamese girl who's been bouncing on white dicks for the past 15 years. So yeah, I thought for the longest time he was divorced, and I basically reconnected with my landlord last year. I asked him how is his life going. Well, he said that he's actually moving to China. Yeah, so he got a work visa to go to Shanghai. And I said, what the hell happened? He's like, oh, things are not working out. And then I got to meet him in person. He's gotten a lot older. The male pattern baldness is starting to take effect. And he's pretty out of shape. And he took the wedding ring off of his finger. So I thought after all of these years, he's finally divorced. Well, it turns out no, because I just literally, this happened 2 weeks ago, right? One day after work, and I thought, okay, my former landlord, I wonder how he's doing in Shanghai, right? I should just send him a text. It's been 3 months, right? I asked him, so how's life in China, right? I found out he actually just returned to Canada and he's about to go to Guatemala. And I'm like, what? Wait, you just got a work visa, right? So you're working for a Chinese company. I said, asked him, right, what happened? Well, he said he got fired from the Chinese company. 100% his fault, okay? It has nothing to do with the Chinese government or immigration policies. So he quit his government job in Canada. It was a huge risk, right? He was making 6 figures at a government job. And basically, he quit his job, he sold his house, and he bought a smaller condo where he stored all of his belongings. And then he flew to China to work in Shanghai. And so the company has a policy, so workplace romance is not allowed. So I guess he's just so desperate. So he's close to 50 now. He's about 47 or 48. So I first met him when he was 35, right? So yeah, I think what happened was he ended up hooking up with one of his coworkers. And so a lot of you guys are saying, well, so this guy is almost 50 years old. So how come he just goes to China for 3 months? How is he able to pick up Chinese women? Once again, he's been making 6 figures for the past 15 years or so, and he just quit his government job, right? So for the government job, if you choose to quit early, it's like an early retirement, you will get a huge sum of money. They call it a severance pay. And also you have to remember, he had a house on the Quebec side. He sold his house, he bought a smaller condo. So he probably went to China with a few $100,000, probably $300,000 cash minimum, right? Once you have money, right, anything is possible in this world. So he probably just rizzed up his coworker with money. But you see, the thing is, right, obviously people found out and someone ratted him out. Or, this woman that he hooked up with found out about the truth. That's when I realized he told me he's actually still married to his Vietnamese wife in Canada. But it's just because he did not have a prenup, and getting divorced will be a huge disaster. And he could lose something like maybe $500,000 from the divorce. It would send him into bankruptcy. So him and his wife are separated. So his wife is currently in Guatemala getting drilled by all of these Latino guys. So, well, I assume that's what's happening if she's choosing to go to Guatemala. So, and he said that he booked the flight already. He's going to fly to Guatemala. He's going to try to find his wife in order to save his marriage. Yeah, that's what happens when you marry a woman with an extremely high body count, right? Including Asian and Indian women. So many people think, oh, these Asian Indian women, they're so conservative, they're so feminine, they're so traditional. Yeah, that's all BS lies, man. Dating, marriage, nuclear family. I mean, that's almost like a thing of the past in 2025. And this trend is happening worldwide. It's happening everywhere, because I was so shocked when I found out he got fired from China. Because From what I understand is that he told me, he asked me about how's dating and marriage. I said, well, you have a government job. Even if you quit, you have a little bit of money, right? And I noticed, obviously, I didn't know he was, still married. I saw him taking off his wedding ring and said, well, if you can find a Chinese wife in Shanghai and get married, you can instantly get a permanent residence. So I thought that's what he was doing. But the company that he worked for in Shanghai made it very clear, no workplace romance. And also, obviously, the company found out he was still married in Canada. So, I mean, that's why he got his ass fired. I mean, if you're so desperate, if you're so horny, if you're so thirsty, just go to the bar, go to the club or something, right? Just, pay like 1,000 yuan to one of these bar girls in China. Why try to hook up with your coworker and lose your job? Because here's the thing, before, China was a backup plan for him. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be allowed back into China because of what happened. And he lost his work visa to go to China as well. This is why it's so important. And I'm telling all of you guys, right? So that's 90% of the audience who are watching this video. Gentlemen, we must stay focused. Never ever be a simp, never ever be a grifter, never ever be a cuck, just like what happened to my former landlord. Oh, here's the thing, right? So he's 47, 48. He could have stayed at his government job and retired at the age of 65, right? Now he does not have a job. Now he does not have any income. Sure, he's got some savings. He sold his house and he's got severance pay, and which will last maybe 4 or 5 years. But when he's 54, 55, what is he going to do? So now he's basically stuck between Dwayne Johnson and the Mandigo. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. So yeah, that's the situation he's dealing with, because he willingly chose to become a simp. He willingly chose to become a cuck because his 33-year-old innocent Vietnamese wife told him that, oh, I'm actually a very, very innocent conservative. I'm very traditional. I'm a virgin. I'm still waiting to give away my cookie, my flower on the wedding day just to you. Do not believe any of these women. Stay focused. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and watching it all the way until the end. If you guys have enjoyed the contents of this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video, leave a comment, and turn on the notification button. I will see you guys back on this channel for Wednesday. Thank you guys.